loving kindness and compassion practices, and making them real, making them real. One of the ways we might say that then is embodied. I see this as the essential calling of real change. But I thought I'd do a little reflection today on these two words, actually. And I'm curious, and then we'll inquire a little after the meditation. What does real mean for you? Is one of my first questions. And then when you hear the word change, what often comes to mind? So I'm going to work right with the title because I thought the title itself was evocative, interesting, and inviting us to embodied, enlivened, real practice. And then one of the questions we'll be inquiring about over the next several weeks, and will be at least 6 weeks, if not 7, depending on how quickly we can move through the book with its understandings and its practices, I think is, what does this mean for you in terms of how you invite agency for change in your everyday life? How do you invoke? How do you contribute? How do you inspire yourself and others to the essential changes that we are all wanting, needing, imploring in this world? And so I thought I would just begin by looking at a few quotes that I have happened on. Of course, this always happens, right? Right when I'm thinking about a topic, there they are. I feel gifted to be sent so many beautiful things by so many people. Thank you all so much. That would be one of my first requests, which is as we are doing this study group, if you find things that have particular resonance for you, if you say, wow, this is really hitting home for me as we're investigating this particular chapter. There are only, I think, around 8 chapters, so it's not a very large book, but I think it's a meaty book and a book of depth. So we are going to take a little time with it and not rush too much through it, as we were forced in some way to do with the Bodhisattva path because of its volume. So one of the things I want to invite you to do is send along what you find. If you find a prayer, if you find a song, if you find a poem, if you find an article, please send it to me. I will likely incorporate it as I see it as relevant to our path together. And you are all teachers on this path. Whoever's ringing the bell is not actually the point. That's right. You don't even need a bell. How cool is that? Your own voice is in fact that. And then your own actions, right? Mirroring that. I think I've got one more person in. So let's take a look at what I have chosen to reflect on today. One of them is a quote from Howard Thurman. And Howard Thurman says this: hope is the remembrance of radiance, the assurance that light will be light, even when walking in dark places, the unalterable, imperturbable reality of light that cannot be dimmed by the conditions or the darkness around it. This is important to remember, isn't it, for us all? Because we have moved, I know for many of us, into a feeling of hopelessness, despair, grief, sorrow, rage, hatred. As I was talking about myself on Saturday, this feeling of disdain or appalling in ways that are not necessarily fruitful and do not necessarily bear the benefit of then taking agency and acting to alleviate pain, alleviate suffering, One of the things that Sharon Salzberg writes in this book, and I think I'm going to have a t-shirt made with this, or maybe a coffee cup, and this might be a fundraiser for us this week. She wrote and has spoken often, as I have heard her through the many years, some things just hurt. Some things just hurt. And this is a reality in our human vulnerability, which we all share. And so rather than this idea that with some set of practices, we can escape the realities, which is not useful, not skillful, and will not be of benefit, that we can begin with our mindfulness practice, acknowledging the truth that some things just hurt. And this is essential on the path, because this is not a path of going around the realities of our human life, is it? It's not going around the realities of the truth of aging, illness, death, impermanence, or interconnectedness and its consequences. So this is a path that moves towards, into the truths, into the Dharma, not in some way escaping them. It also makes this path one of courage, doesn't it? One of essential bravery, one of essential patience, one of essential kindness, goodness, and compassion. And that's what we're all looking to activate in our own agency. However, we will uniquely do that. So here's what Terry Hershey had to say. I took a few of his words. I thought they were really lovely and very consistent with my own thoughts this morning. Let us remember that there's a stronger force, a deeper truth, and a wide and active community of good-hearted, decent people. Let us remind one another of all the fine and honorable people in our own lives. Let us remind ourselves of how many people got up this morning, just like this morning, and those who are here this morning, and continue to make the world a kinder, better place, one day, one person, 3 feet around them. Let your goodness be heard and dig into what makes all of our lives and your life good. May we gather the remember of radiance, the assurance that even in the aftermath of the forces of greed, hatred, and delusion, that which is always the manifestation of pain and fear, that light is still light and hope is still here and has not been cut out or hemmed in. This is what I felt the book was inviting us to do: claim agency and claim love. This is the whole of the book, I believe, on real change. Text, Zoom, call the people you love, thank them, let them know that they are treasures in your life. Remind you and them of the power of love and its radiance. Reach out and affirm what keeps saving us: goodness, kindness, faithfulness, gratitude, generosity, hospitality, justice, equality, love, and compassion. Lay your hand on your heart and know that you will illuminate the lives of others around you. You are also doing what you can each day in your own way to make the world around you a kinder place. And so that's what our focus is going to be today. And actually what the focus has been, I think, the entire focus of the book, Real Change. I'm going to just refresh this to make sure that you can all see it. The other thing I found, of course, was the prayer of St. Francis. I love this prayer. I'm going to read this as our aspiration for the day. We'll then go into the practice, and then we'll talk a little bit about what those words mean. What does real mean for you, and change? And then we'll talk a little bit about how we'll approach the book. And so as you prepare to sit, beginning to invite this kind attention towards The sense of the body sitting here. This is how we begin. We invite a balance and equanimity, an ease and an alertness. The mind comes home to the body. The body settles and rests upon the earth. The St. Francis Peace Prayer. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. We release that self-centered mind and open to the vastness of the world. And so let's prepare to sit. Establishing the body, feeling the feet, the legs, and the hips, offering us that stable base. Letting the breath flow easily into the body. And on the out breath, we simply settle and rest. We rest this weary body, and even more so, we rest the weary mind. Let it find refuge in this very body sitting here, and then in the breath. As we enter this body, may we find our way to this kind, open, sweet, and tender heart. That which brought you here today. That which inspires you, ignites your goodness, and then shines it like that bright light in all words, in all thoughts, in all actions. May we offer this practice today to the benefit of all beings, omitting none. Calling to mind anyone special to whom you wish to dedicate your practice today. It may not be a person, it may be a group. And may we call to mind those healthcare workers, Carrie, Renee, Jim, those we know, those we don't know, who are working tirelessly for our good and well-being. May we all be awakened. May we all be free. And as we reflect on the St. Francis Peace Prayer, one of the, I think, most important pieces of work is to begin to offer that light, that good heart, that radiance to oneself. I think it's a big habit in our Judeo Christian ideologies to send it out. But we must also essentially remember to breathe it in. And so, calling on that goodness now, all that goodness just in the last few days that has been in evidence for you, that has supported you, that has cared for you, that has offered you respite or kindness or patience or love. Calling those moments, those people, those beings to mind. Maybe a smile, maybe an offering of beverage, maybe an invitation for a walk, a talk, a connection of some form. Continue to breathe them in, and as we recollect them, see if we can also recollect the way the event transpired and the goodness that invoked it. Someone wishing for our happiness, our ease, our well being. These small acts of kindness, twinkling stars of light in a dark sky. And as you breathe them in, let them settle into the body and see where they land. What is pacified? What is energized as you recollect this goodness being offered to you? We know one of the first recommendations for initial thoughts in the day is to remember the truth of the gift of this precious human life. It is a gift for this reason that we get to know love. And letting that goodness, letting that kindness, that care continue to rain down upon you, making sure it lands right there in your own heart. Let the heart be awakened and opened by the truth of this goodness. Goodness does not always look like an act that's necessarily viewable. I'm reflecting on a moment of kindness extended to me where a person who could have otherwise been distressed or angry or blaming chose not to be. This it was the good heart in clear evidence. We could simply and easily remember all those who are working for our health, our happiness, and our ease of being. And that would include most workers on most days of all sorts. Who get up every day and serve you breakfast or fix your computers, write the programs, provide for your health and well-being in the healthcare system. We rely on each other, essentially, remembering those who contribute. And then offering them phrases of appreciation, gratitude, loving kindness, compassion. It may be an essential phrase such as, may you be happy. May you be appreciated. May you know the good you do and that it matters. Maybe something as simple as thank you. And feel the effects of this contemplation, this recollection. See if you notice there is an increased ease or warmth, a sense of wholeness or interconnectedness as we recollect the good in others. And more than making this a gratitude practice, I'm interested in having you feel the effects and the impulse it invites in you. Is it energizing or depleting? Connecting or separating? Does it breed hopelessness or hope? Feel into your own body. Check into the ease of the breath. Feel into your own heart space. See what's there. See if you can feel the warmth of that radiant heart light. That has been shined onto you. And in this practice, it is completely appropriate to breathe it in, to nourish, to fuel, and to feed our own good hearts. Essential nutriment. And as we feel the kindness, the care, the love, the compassion, the hard work, the joyful endeavor of offering one's efforts to the benefit of others, we can activate and remember our own good hearts. And now I'd like to change the reflection to that of what you contribute, what you have offered in this effort to shine light in this world. Reflecting now on your own acts of kindness, of care. Your own deep well of compassion, of hope. Remembering your own goodness in evidence in infinite ways, small moments. Lived intentionally. I can offer this. And let this too nurture, feed, and enliven and enlighten your own good heart. The mind takes the shape of that which we place it upon. We're going to place it right now on our own goodness, evidenced in these infinite small ways every day. Let the light shine through. Claim agency and love. And we don't have to work so hard at this analytically. I'm noticing that I had a few thoughts, remembrances, and now I can just feel the essence of that radiant good heart. And I'm just letting it shine. Where there's hatred, let me shine love. Where there's pain, let me shine healing. Let me remember my own capacities for this essential connection and healing light. It's right here. And we have to breathe it into earth. We have to recollect it. We have to remember it. We have to re-intention it. And then there would be nothing to do but live it. It would flow out and could not be obstructed. We relax the face and soften the body so that that radiance shines right through. And first we have to remember that it matters, that it's possible, and that we have ownership of this. This is ours. Our essential true nature right here. Radiant, open, and vast. And when we remember who we are, when we clear the fog of forgetting, then we can direct that goodness where it can be best offered and where it can best serve. And though it's difficult for us, I would like you to offer this first today to yourself, making contact with this goodness. How can you make this first offering today to yourself? There is the remembering, and then there is the natural actions that follow. This is a part of the claiming agency. How can you enact this good heart directed towards yourself today? Now. Is there an act of rest or ease? Is there an act of nourishment? Is there a self-care act? Is there a reminding and remembering you are worthy of this love? Maybe it is an act of forgiveness, an act of mercy, an act of creating space or room for oneself, patience, and generosity. This radical act of love offered to oneself. What does it look like? How does it feel? Shining the light on yourself, letting it touch that open-hearted mirror, radiated throughout. And simply rest in that warmth, that space, that goodness. Making a real offer. I'd like to hear what it is. Something real, doable. And then feel the effects of that commitment, that intention, and that offer. Breathing it in for yourself, letting the body transmute that offer into energy, love, light, ease. And then I'd like you to think of one other who might benefit from that offering as well. Calling them to mind. Picturing them, bringing them present here and into your own heart. An intention to make that offering to them as well. You, just like me, needing ease or rest, nourishment or joy, beauty or peace, whatever it is. And as you're expanding the heart to include this other, Feel the effects of that radiating light. See how it feels to make the commitment. To set the intention. Can you feel the truth that the heart continues to grow bigger, brighter, more spacious, more boundless? Takes nothing and gives us everything. And then simply rest back in that wide open, spacious heart of goodness, of light, of care, compassion, generosity. Let it open wide beyond the body, beyond the physical and emotional heart. Let it flow out into the space all around you. See if we can make contact with this circle of radiant light throughout the day. See how the very presence can change despair into hope, a frown into a smile, weariness into ease. May we all be happy. May we all be free from pain and suffering. May we all have ease of being. May we all remember the radical act of love capable of this good heart residing right here in you. And may this practice today contribute. Taking a moment to unfurl the knots. So thank you. I already have a few notes from others. Yes, our own actions are the key. They are that to which we are sovereign, right? So as we have read in the remembrances, we are heir to our actions, born of our actions. It is only our actions and their consequence which remain. And so, yes, this whole inquiry over the next 8 weeks is going to be about how to take those very aspirations that we all have, the very capacities for love, for kindness, for generosity and care that we all have, and how to make them alive, how to make them alive. And just like I hope you could feel. And Chris writes, when you stop trying to change is when change can happen. It's true and not true. Yes, the striving for change often is a rejection of the present moment. It's true. And also believing that we have to change is some kind of, I think, essential denigration of who we already are, the goodness that we already are, and how we can use that very truth, which is always present, in which to grow, change, learn, and contribute. So you're right. It is the trying, the belief that we have to be improved or better, or and the wholesome aspiration that is also there, which is to be of benefit, that is already alive in you. Yes, each of our loving light makes a difference in the world. It's how to make sure that it translates. I believe that's what the book Real Change is about. Yes, when we're focusing attention, Robin is exactly right. It is one of the ways. And so thank you for that, because it's reminding me to say about the book that these are going to be very basic practices, taking us back to our mindfulness, our mindful presence, and then inviting and invoking loving presence. This is what Sharon Salzberg and I agree are absolutely essential on the path to making real change in the world. Yes, there was a beautiful, that song, The Peace Prayer, I saw, Chris, I looked at it this morning. I saw several people singing it, including Sarah McLachlan. And I don't know if you saw that version, but it was actually also stunning. And yes, I will make sure to include that in the summary notes, which will be available every week with a little study guide for how we're going to be using the book and the practices each week. So I want to look at that. But first, I want to ask the question that I posed, which is, if you could find another word for real, as we have just practiced with real, what's real in us, we're going to look at both words. So what's another word you would come up with as you have reflected now, as you have practiced, as you have made contact? What would be another word you might use for real? You can chat that or just come on and say so. I've already gotten a couple of words. Go ahead, whoever. I've heard somebody. Let me read the ones I'm seeing so far. I see a lot of authentic, sustainable, present. We are always changing. Can I change my actions to be of benefit? And the answer is yes. Can I realize my open heart, bodhicitta, for myself and others? Yes. That would be definition of real. Thank you very much, Greg. Sustainable, present. Connection is real. Loneliness is real. All emotions, all feelings are real. Enduring, pure, authentic, feeling both internal and external. That's exactly right. Alive, enlivened, enlightened. What other ones? Keep thinking. Real. I asked my son this, my youngest son, this weekend. How do you know love? How do you know care? How do you, and he goes, it's viewable. It's you can just feel it and see it. It's viewed. It's nothing, you don't have to guess. You don't have to wonder. It's just so in evidence. In evidence. Yes, if people could not change, particularly, by the way, those things that we see that are not of benefit, right? Those things that are harming to ourselves and others, and there is no distinction. If we cannot, this is the beauty of this world, is that we have the capacity for choice, for mindfulness, for open-heartedness, and we can grow them by choice. It's a goodness. Thank you, Jan. Lovely to hear the ducks. Glad they're making you happy, Dennis. Without delusion, grasping, or rejection. That's right. How to open to the whole. And we talked about the word over the holy days of holiness, being wholesomeness. Another translation we've already seen several people move on to it is goodness. Once again, a great reminder that when in reaction, anger, disdain, disgust, sadness, grief, fear, yes, Shivam, it's imperative for me to take the time to sit and to soften, soothe, and allow, to then be able to expand and open to all the good in and around me, so that in that expansion, both the pain and the good are available. Yes, some truth to this. Thank you so much. Sometimes it just hurts. But we can. There is a space, isn't there? There is a heart mind that can hold it all. And that is what we're going to be cultivating in this review, this book club. Human and divine interconnection. Yes, Leslie. Sharon's Real Change podcast is very good. Yes, it was. Young Pablo, who is a wonderful Instagram account. Don't know him, but there's many Real Change podcasts, as well as an 1.5-hour series from Sharon herself on YouTube. So I will direct you all to that as we begin to look at the book this week. That will be in my summary. Okay, let's go to the other word. Genuine, yes. What would be the word, another word for change? We've looked at real and all of its manifestations. Not all, of course, there's infinite. Change, transformation, yes. Shift, yes. Growth, yes. Aliveness, yes. Keep going. What else? Change. Potential. Possibility. Flow, yes. Thank you, Margie. Action, yes. Actionable, right? That's what Tanner said. You know love because you see it in action. Metamorphosis, beautiful, Denise. Letting go, yes. Letting go of the self-clinging. Development, yes. Growth, yes. Difference, sure. The possibilities are infinite and endless. Yes, any others? Real and change. Look at can you feel the vibrancy and aliveness in this? Listening, yes, would be a beautiful act. Necessary, all true. This is an essential truth, Jan. It is now necessary. Search and discovery, yes, it is continuous. We begin and continue again and again. Yes, Victor. Beautiful. Thank you all so much for that. I want you to know, I guess, by this brief inquiry, that in fact, be watchful of this demand for change versus the potential to be most alive, most loving, and most present, which is a beautiful light itself and does not require us to be different, does not require difference. It requires openness. And be watchful. Honoring differences is different than the demand for the difference, isn't it, Leslie? And yes, we honor and include. It's inclusive, it's allowing. This is all completely correct. I want you to get the book if you have it. If you don't have it, no big deal. And then I want to say something about the book. If for some reason you cannot afford the book, you cannot afford the ebook, you cannot afford the Kindle, I would like you to send a note to me privately and let me know, because we have some people who have made offers of contribution regarding that. I'd like to see what the need is first, and then I hope, can generate a real loving response. That's my goal, but let me know. I know the ebook's available. I have no idea what its cost is. But if you have a computer, a PC or otherwise, you should be able to use thank you. Thank you. What also just happened, thank you all so much, is that other people said they'd be happy to purchase. Thank you. But please let me know if you need the book. Because I want you to have access. I want you to be able to go along with us and benefit in all the ways I think we can. Thank you all for that, but please let me know. I want to just look at the chapters for a moment. So if you have the book, if you would go to just the contents page here. That contents page is just going to name the chapters of the book, and there are 8. And I just want to thank you again, those of you who are making offers. I really appreciate this. There are some in our Sangha who need to direct all of their funds to their well-being for a variety of reasons. And it is appropriate and good and right that they do. So I'm so grateful to all of you who are contributing when you can, in the way you can. Thank you, Julie. So here we are. This is what I want us to say. For next week, we're going to be looking at the first 2 chapters. And those chapters are called We Are All in This Together, which is the introduction. Change is Possible, And I really want us to really look at chapter 1, because I want us to understand that the change that Sharon is talking about is not improving. It is being one's most authentic, real, enlivened, loving. Look at the words we use: sustainable, key word. I think that was Margie's, right? Self. And so this idea that we have to become better is actually a part of our problem. We're actually going to access and make contact with, and then stay in contact with, through our mindful attention to begin, what is already here in you that you can feel now. And so change is possible. That means, can I see most clearly both the resources I have and the needs that are available, are present, to make myself the greatest instrument, as St. Francis says, for peace when it is needed, for taking a stand when it is needed, for saying no when it is needed, for contributing to the end of distress and harm when it is needed, right? This is the work. And that is her first chapter, Change is Possible, and what we believe about change. Next week, we're going to be doing a meditation on our storylines, what we believe about the world, what we believe about the self, and what we believe about others. Often, we believe that it just sucks and that's the way it is. This is unfortunate. People are just greedy. It doesn't mean that greed doesn't exist, but it is not our most essential selves. Sometimes things just hurt. And in that hurting, in that pain, and in the fear that we often cultivate against it, it is true that greed, clinging can become a consequence, but it is not because it is in our nature. It is because it becomes the essential survival habit, right? And we'll look at that a little bit. That's chapter 1, Change is Possible. And then I want us to go all the way to chapter 2 for next week, which is agency. You've heard me use a couple words there that are similar. One is agency, being an agent of change for oneself and others, being an agent of goodness, an agent of love. What does that mean for you? Being an agent of kindness, setting that as our primary intention for that week's practice, recognizing our agency. The other words I've used are words like choice, sovereignty, possibility. They are all related to the same capacities, right? To make impact, influence on ourselves and others. And we're going to take a look at that agency. We'll begin again. I'm going to just underscore this with a meditation about our storylines. What are the core stories that we carry around about life and ourselves? We need to know what those are because they often get in the way. If we believe that people are essentially bad, it is going to pop a big hole in that otherwise bright light of our true nature and being. And so we have to investigate them. We have to inquire. We have to be able to hold the thoughts without falling prey to their destructive force at times. And it is often just pain and fear itself at the base of those believed core thoughts. Falsely believed thoughts is going to be some of the investigation for next week. Here's what Sharon has to say about agency. I thought I would grab a quote. We bring alive a vision by taking that crucial first step toward making love real. Sometimes out of inspiration, sometimes out of outrage, sometimes faltering, and sometimes with resolve. To step forward toward a life of caring and engagement, we challenge our conditioning, the fear, the believing of ourselves or others as unworthy. Remember those core belief thoughts. The incorporating of limiting stories we've told for too long. We take on what is holding us back. And there is a lot that can hold us back, starting with our falsely believed thoughts about ourselves. Isn't this amazing? The falsely believed thought about you is where the first contraction, the first limit, the first false story is told. It is not about another. And we're going to investigate that a little bit more together. That will be next week in chapters 1 and 2. And then we go on to chapter 3 called Awakening to the Fire, and how we use anger. I love this chapter. How we use anger as an inspiration, as an energizer, as a battery, as a fuel source, as a nutriment to positive change. We do not define anger as a negative. We simply invoke it as an energy source. It's what we act then that actually determines anger. There was a gentleman, some of you are old enough, many not. I think his name was John Walsh. Does anybody remember this? John Walsh had a son kidnapped and viciously, violently murdered many years ago, probably 20 or 30 years ago now, yes. And he was so enraged and so contracted by the rage at that this could happen to a young child that he went on to start many organizations, by the way. And one of them was the missing children on the milk cartons. Anybody remember that? There used to be, right? Yeah, you have to be a little older to recollect this. So you're not 25 if you know this. Right, he did that. He started many beautiful foundations. MAD, another example. Yes, look at the goodness that can come out of that very energy of anger. This is unacceptable. It must be different. And then you can become an agent right with that anger for this infinite, amazing potential for positive change. And I am inspired by this consistently. It is not the only source for change, but it is certainly one. And we're going to tap into that a little bit in chapter 3. Rather than see anger as negative, rather than push it away, can we see the inspiration, the intention, and the goodness in it? And it almost always is a screaming no to some form of harm, isn't it? No, this is unacceptable. No, this cannot continue. No, I will contribute something to the end of this with these acts of kindness, generosity, care. Look at what just happened here in our own Sangha when we heard that others may not be able to afford the book, right? That's amazing. The challenge lies in honoring the message of anger without letting it consume us. Not because it is wrong to feel anger, but because it might well burn us up. Not so helpful. It might burn us up. Yes, Robin, grief is another source that can contribute to the benefit of others with this discerning wisdom, which we will be investigating in chapter 3. Sometimes we find ourselves confronting a seemingly intractable problem. We're overwhelmed and don't know what to do to make it all okay, until after a time, we realize we need to do the one small thing that's in front of us. The one small thing. If you can't find it, that means you are collapsed by core falsely believed thoughts. You have decided that you do not matter, that your thoughts, words, and deeds do not matter, and will not be of benefit, and that is wrong. core limiting believed thoughts if you cannot find that one small thing. We're going to look at that together. That's chapter 3. And then there's chapter 4. We're going to be practicing essential mindfulness practices along with some of these reflections and inquiries each week. Chapter 4 is one of my favorites. It's called Grief to Resilience. Grief to Resilience. I love this. We often see or feel grief as a collapsing experience or feeling. It is not true. It is, again, falling into the belief thoughts about grief. But grief itself ultimately only opens the heart wider because to include it means we have to turn towards the truth that sometimes things hurt, right? Sometimes things hurt, and it's okay. We don't have to reject that truth in order to use the potency and power of grief to affect real change. Let me see if I've got any quotes here. Yes, here's one. Chapter 4, to grieve, whether for a person or for our hopes and dreams, is to watch reality, once so solid seeming, become molten and liquid and vapor and air. What about that? Seeming so solid and then becoming ultimately transmuting all the way to becoming air, not only for ourselves, but others. This acknowledgement of the need to truly touch our sadness, pain, and loss is where real change is often born, where we begin to build resilience as we respond to our own pain with presence and compassion. The energy we have for responding to the pain of others increases exponentially, as does our sense of belonging, connection, and care. That's chapter 4, Grief to Resilience, a really fabulous chapter. I love that chapter, and I'm looking forward to going over that with you. This next chapter is Coming Home to Ourselves. We practice this a lot in the Sangha. We did it again today. This is often the way we fuel and feed our resilience, and we have to do so in a sustainable way. I saw that word a couple times written in our chat. Somebody else used the word replicatable. I liked that, right? That we have to be, it's not a one-timer. It's something we have to do every day, that we have to make alive every day, that we have to have the energy for every day. And so coming home to ourselves, and how do we nourish that in us, that resilience, that resourcing that we've talked about before. And here's what Sharon, just to grab on a quote from that chapter. To retain our vitality, it's important to be able to switch focus from negative realities of the world to positive ones, to regain our capacity for joy, positivity, connection, and care. Sharon talks a little bit in that chapter about sometimes we get too focused on an outcome, on just what's wrong, just how it's not going the way we want or need it to go, and that will equal a certain kind of empathy burnout. And so we have to be watchful. And she uses a word in that chapter, titrate. We have to titrate. That means little pieces at a time as we grow in certain qualities and as we attend and acknowledge and care for other qualities as well. That's chapter 4, Coming Home to Ourselves. And then, that was chapter 5, I'm sorry, Coming Home to Ourselves. Chapter 6, here's a quote I really liked, called Interconnectedness is the name of the chapter. Of course, we all know the truth of our interconnectedness. We can feel it in our practice. We can feel it in our felt sense of love and support. This is the truth of our existence because we live in an interconnected universe. Everything is contingent, intertwined, interrelated. So how we act has a gigantic impact and influence. The other thing I saw in this chapter that I liked is the consequence of isolation. When we practice alone, when we feel we're acting alone, when we feel it's all on us, when we feel like we're carrying everything, that others are disconnected, disillusioned, in denial, and the consequence of those core belief thoughts, they have some consequence for us. They're going to sap and suck our energy right out of us from the marrow. We have to be watchful of this. Yes, Chris, a beautiful quote shared yesterday. How beautiful. I know this quote by Marcus Aurelius. The impediment to action advances action. The obstacle becomes the way. Yes. How do we look directly at them to see that that is where attention often first must be made, not to the thing far out, but really what's right here in front of me, looking at my own core believed thoughts and that own sense of isolation, separation, and disconnect, which is always false. Always not true, never true. Doesn't matter if you're in your house alone right now. You are an essential part of the fabric of this life. It cannot be otherwise. If you believe this, it means you are not seeing clearly, and we will work to move the obstruction, the obstacle, to open to it as a part of the way. That's chapter 6 on interconnectedness. I really enjoyed that chapter as well. She begins to talk about compassionate action there, by the way, and what that looks like in the world, but not before offering that, as you saw in the early chapters, to oneself. Chapter 7, seeing more clearly. This is a part of what we call the luminous wisdom mind, being able to look not only inward towards our own needs, but recognizing that our needs are the needs of all humans, that vulnerability is a part of the vulnerability of all beings, and that we then begin to open and expand that view beyond our own understanding to include others. And then our loving kindness practice will also begin to expand, to begin to include others, but it will not begin that way. It will begin as loving kindness directed essentially, firstly, necessarily towards oneself. Has to be. And so some of us will not move from that to practicing immediately for and with others. Not that you aren't already, because in fact you are. That which is in you is in all beings. Chapter 8 then, of course, is practice of equanimity. Equanimity practices essential. We'll do an equanimity meditation that week. We'll practice it together, and it'll be the practice identified for the whole week's practice. It's how we cross the flood, not lingering and not hurrying, but finding that essential balance. So that's the book. And then I want to talk for just a minute, and I know we only have another few moments. I want to talk about how we're going to be doing it. So each week, starting next week, we will be looking directly at the chapter. I'll be pulling out quotes from that chapter. We'll be offering our own perspective and understanding of that, whether we do it by chat or online. So that's the way we'll begin, by culling through the words of the chapter. I will then offer practice for the week, which we will practice beforehand. And then I will also invite an inquiry, a set of questions. What about this? What about this? What do you know about this? I'd like you to begin a journal. of real change. Find a book, notebook, or staple some pages together for yourself, however you do. The author of Real Change is Sharon Salzberg, B-E-R-G, and we will start that next week. And so that's going to be the way we work with this book club. I or you can find a book club buddy. If you don't want to bother trying to track somebody down, I'll just assign you a buddy, and you are to review those questions by email, by text, by phone, in person, however you can find to do that safely with the other, to expand your perspective, your view, your understanding of the teachings that are available in the book. And so that's the plan. Any thoughts about that before we get ready for just a moment of stillness before we end today? Real Change, Sharon Salzberg. Let me pull it up there one more time, Victor. Yes, it's a beautiful color book. These are some of my favorite colors. If anybody's been in my office, they know this. And Sharon Salzberg, a 45-year practitioner and teacher of the primarily Theravadan tradition, but really now identifies herself simply as a mindfulness teacher, who I'm looking forward to sharing with you. Any questions, comments? Nobody's let me know that they can't yet afford the book. I do know there's some people who don't have it. It's critically important to me that you have access to that, so please let me know. This is important. It's important that we can share this with these words and these teachings together. I'm looking at chat. I don't see anything right now. It looks to me like we're done enough. Any questions? Anything? I got the book through Amazon. Kindle is through Amazon. If you don't have a Kindle, my understanding is that you can put the Kindle app, many people, on their computers. So you don't actually need the device. So I have a Kindle app on my computer. And so I believe that that's possible for you as well, no matter what your computer, whether it's a PC or a Mac. So if you would like to get access to that, you can take notes on Kindle apps. You can underscore, underline, so it's just usable. Yes, there's also the phone app. I think reading on the phone is challenging. I don't like that personally, but I do know you can do it on both a PC and a Mac or an iPad. All of that, it's available through all of that. I would not go to the phone first if you can get it on a computer, only because I think it can be hard to read. Some people don't have any problem with that. So I guess in that instance, that would be good also. Please let me know what you need help with. I'm going to send a notice to all of you here, reminding you to purchase the book, reminding you about the access. I'm going to send you some link material, including that St. Francis prayer sung by Sarah McLachlan. It was just stunningly beautiful. And reminding you of reading chapters in the introduction, chapter 1 and 2 for next week. Wonderful. All right, so we're going to sit together for just another moment. I'm going to look to make sure we're all fine. Looks like we're good so far. Thank you all for being here. I'm so excited to review this beautiful book and beautiful writing with you. Sharon's a master writer. I think you will find the book truly a benefit. I know that I have already. So let's sit together for just another moment. And so feeling that light once again burning brightly within you, we have to remember it's already here. We don't have to be someone else. There is no other presence than the beautiful, unique, authentic, sustainable, loving, present you. Take a big breath in, fill it up. And with a big breath out, send it out. Let every pore be a portal. Let every orifice be an opening. Send it out. May we dedicate this practice today to those for whom we have specially named, those in need, those who are hungry, those who are weary, all those healthcare professionals, particularly Carrie and Renee, Jim, and all those at Scripps Hospital here, all the hospitals everywhere, all those who are working in clinics like Caitlin, all those who are working in the police force like Moses, right? All those who contribute every day. Remember their goodness and so remember yours. Together we will make a good, peaceable world free of suffering. May we all have happiness. May we all be safe. May we all live with ease. And may we remember the light shining brightly in you. May we share it abundantly. And this will equal real change and be a very good day. So be it. Thank you all so much for your presence, for your bright light. May it shine throughout this day. I will feel it and know it's there. Thank you all. Blessings to you and all the ways you live this. Thank you. Thank you. Please let me know about the book, anyone. I want to make sure you get it in hand or on computer this week so you can read it. I'm looking forward to sharing it with you next week. I'll see you all then. Bye, everyone. Have a good day. Make it a good day. All right. Be well, everyone. You're so welcome, Renee. Thank you. Thank you, and Carrie. We're going to be doing some kind of care packages for the healthcare professionals here soon. We'll be talking about that shortly. Everyone be well.